They're not gangsters. They're not hardened criminals. I don't think they intended to kill anybody. They were looking for have a joyride.
Who was the woman in the Mandalorian? What did she do? She liked something? Or...
She was a Nazi.
I said, well, you know, the Great Mother doesn't choose sides. According to Avatar, the Great Mother doesn't choose sides. She's there to protect balance.
Yes.
She doesn't pick a winner. She protects balance. And
Yes.
do you know what the Palestinian and the Israelis in the room, do you know their reaction?
They thought about it.
And I think it was because some of them had seen Avatar.
More parents are seeing the value of educators when they had to bring their kids and say, we're not paying them nearly enough.
God help us. That is the soon-to-be president of the United States. I don't even know. I mean, this is one of those situations with the Kamala Harris. There's 2 minutes of audio. You think to yourself, do you do it to the listeners? Do you do it to them? It's not about, sure, the laughing is something that maybe some people might think that she should be committed for. And the utter vacuousness. But those are two normal Kamala traits. What she says, the points she makes, are thoroughly, obscenely insulting. If you're, and by the way, this should, I don't know where, I think I stole this from somebody, but somebody should be making ads right now with this audio. What Kamala Harris said, and distributing it to 2022 candidates and campaigns immediately. And it should be everything you hear. This is absolutely crazy. So I've cut this thing into two pieces here. First, she sets it up with a contrived, really at this point, well-trodden theme of finding opportunity in every disaster. Blah, blah, blah.
I believe in that saying that in every crisis there is an opportunity if we see it for what it is.
That's not a saying, by the way. You know, Rahm Emanuel had a saying that stripped away the friendly, colorful window dressing that said, never let a crisis go to waste.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, and the year that I was applying to colleges, that was one of our college essay questions, was like, it's some quote where somebody says, like, I don't even know if this is actually true about the Chinese character, but the Chinese character for crisis has two meanings, and one is danger and one is opportunity or whatever. So, I mean, this is a thing that everybody says.
Yes.
It's not a new invention by Kamala Harris.
This pandemic resulted in so much loss to human life. People lost their jobs.
Her act is so shallow. The tremors in her voice when she says sad things. And then when she says anything else, she's always on the precipice of falling into uproarious laughter. But right now, it's so much loss. It is, like I said, it is shallow. This doesn't fly. Her act is not a good one.
Loss of normalcy. So much loss and devastation.
Then this is going to be a running theme in this 2 minutes of Kamala Harris. Normalcy wasn't lost. It was mandated to go away.
Right.
And the interest groups that push the mandates belong in the corner of Kamala Harris. So I'll just leave it at that. We'll get to a little more of this.
And this pandemic was in many ways an accelerator, meaning for whom things were bad before, they got even worse. And it also magnified then the fissures and the failures and the fractures in our system.
That's some genuine horse bleep right there. None of this stuff happened under its own inertia. All of these were manipulations. Now, I'm sure that the crime costs and destruction of the fallout from George Floyd, Black Lives Matter, is now pushed into pandemic category.
Oh, yeah. I mean, don't you remember last summer during the campaign season, all the Democrats were going, you're cowering in your house, trapped at home, and there's riots in the streets. Now do you still like Trump so much? Now have we made America great yet?
This is Trump's America.
Yeah.
So here we go. If you're already starting to work yourself up into being angry, this is the point where if you're drinking, this is where you want to crack one and start to calm yourself and soothe yourself. If not, breathing exercises or whatever else works.
Prayer.
So you say, Kamala, okay, talk about the opportunity now, right?
What? Who said something funny anywhere around? But
The opportunity is more people are seeing that, yeah, affordable childcare is a big deal.
First of all, she never had to do the child care thing. I don't think she has her own kids.
She does not.
No, she inherited some kids.
Married into some kids, I think, is more accurate.
Most of us knew that affordable child care is a big deal for a long time, which is one of the reasons why we like to keep our own money, which Kamala is not for.
Right, and one of the reasons why we don't support, government way over regulation of childcare. Massachusetts is one of the most expensive states for childcare in the country, so we've seen it firsthand. It costs roughly, at least when we had our daughter 10 years ago, 11 years ago, well, 10-ish, it was around $2,000 a month. Up until she was like a year and a half. And so, now multiply by 2 if you have 2 kids and like forget about it. You just might as well not work. So like this has been a purposeful thing that they've been doing over regulating childcare for decades now. This is an on purpose policy that they do, but whatever, don't get me started.
Yes, these are big liberal policies, over-regulated like you were saying. So now brace yourself. Here we go. If you're somebody who's had kids in school or had to homeschool them or had to deal with having to stay home because the schools are closed.
Deep breaths, everybody.
This is Kamala's take.
More parents are seeing the value of educators when they had to bring their kids and said, we're not paying them nearly enough.
I don't even know how one would respond to this without using an expletive. Now you're seeing the value of those teachers. Now do you see?
Now we shut off the schools. Now you miss us, huh? Excuse me? No, we paid you to have school, and towns always go back and forth on, whether or not they're getting the value for their education dollars because the cost of education seem to be going up and the quality doesn't necessarily seem to be following. But then the government decided to try continuing to take all your education dollars from you, but not offering you any school. And their takeaway from that is not that they're blackmailing us with our own money, weirdly, but that now we really appreciate them and like them.
Right. And all because, and it's as if this force out of nowhere made us, like a giant hurricane came and destroyed all the schools now we see. But that didn't happen.
Right.
The schools weren't open. Though safe, the schools weren't open because of community spread. The schools weren't open. We taught in the 50s, 60s, 70s, and even into the 80s, we taught teachers and kids how to prepare for a nuclear blast in the classroom. What to do if it was coming in the classroom. We were prepared to stick it out through that and through the days and leading up to that. We were in school, and that was going to happen, and that was what you did because kids are in schools. And now, even though the risk was minimal the entire time, and this was obvious, this is now a fact that this was simply a shakedown by the teachers' unions. And she's acting like we've now benefited from seeing what they have to go through.
Right.
Well, okay. Then can you pay Alice Shattuck a teacher's salary for this year then, since that's what we did?
Yeah, I mean...
Seems only fair to me.
I mean, I'd even take back my own money that we paid in property taxes that went to education, because that's, I don't even need you to pay me a teacher's salary, but there are a bunch of states now like New Hampshire, a ton of states are passing bills that are going to let parents take their education dollars out of the school system and use them for their own things, whether it's homeschooling, private school, parochial schools, whatever it is. And, obviously people don't like that. There was just a state, is it Kentucky? Who's Governor Bashir?
I don't know.
But he just vetoed the bill, and they overrode his veto, the legislature, even though he sends his kids to private school, the governor. And he's vetoing the bill to let people essentially have vouchers and take their money where they want to go. It's unbelievable, the audacity of all these people. And I don't see how they're going to recover from this.
And to think that their takeaway
is that we like them more now?
is that, man, we should be paying them more. For not being in the class, they should get paid more. That's not my takeaway.
No. My takeaway is that we need about 75% less of them, and they should make less money.
We started to talk about things like paid sick leave and paid family leave, because guess what? We're all in this together.
What kind of policy point is that? We're just all in this together. So, yep, paid family leave. We're all in this together.
Well, and just the blatant, in every crisis is an opportunity. The opportunity isn't, we can learn to, really look out for our neighbors more. The opportunity is we can pass the policy proposals I've always wanted to pass now, because there's...
This is the same as her saying...
There's a political advantage in the crisis.
This is her
for
saying...
Democrats.
It's saying it was a debate. It was a debate. This is not something she should be saying out loud.
Right.
This is something you say in a very exclusive Democratic fundraiser at French Laundry at some night. Say, I shouldn't be saying this, but yada, 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 yada. And you say this. This is the audacity in the nerve to say this.
We took away people's right to make a living, and now they're more into welfare. See how that works?
We
it's
saw an opportunity to shut the schools down, and we did. And now we can wrench out some more money for the teachers and other programs that we want. It is frigging remarkable. Remarkable.
So therein lies the moment of opportunity that we all collectively, I know, are going to take full advantage of in terms of saying, you know what, there's consensus.
Consensus in what exactly? In that all the parents wanted all the students to go home earlier? Go back to school earlier, which is true. Mm-hmm. They did. Even the media turned. But, as of winter, essentially, people in the media said, okay, guys, this is hard too. You had the CDC director.
So strong.
Yes, you had the CDC director, Rochelle Walensky, among others, saying, well, if you're vaccinated, you don't even need to be vaccinated, she said, as a matter of fact. Mm-hmm. She said, you can just open the schools. It's fine. Schools, you can open them easy. It's fine. They're already regimented in schools. They walk in little lines for fire drills, and they're separated already in their desk. You just separate them. It is remarkable what this person is saying.
We're all in this together. Everyone can see something that maybe only some of us could see before.
What an arrogant line.
Yeah.
Now you idiots will see, okay? It took a pandemic to show you.
Right. This is essentially her saying after a school shooting, well, this is finally an opportunity to pass gun control. It's so disgusting.
Except the school is shot by the teachers.
Yeah. It's like if she shut up the school and then said that it's an opportunity to pass gun control.
Well, let's get to it. And let's not be incremental. Let's leapfrog over the problems and get into the next phase of all of this.
Sounds great. It's great hearing this from somebody who's going to be, a vote, the 51st vote, when there's no more filibuster, or the president when there's no more filibuster.
Right.
Invest in our child care workers. Invest in our child care centers. Invest in our children.
Invest in the child care workers and child care centers, all of which you shut down. Mm-hmm. When we needed them the most, were shut down. All mostly, of course, in the most marginalized cities, which we're going to hear about more and more as the George Floyd trial turns into the George Floyd street protest, which turns into something probably more disastrous.
Pull people out of poverty. Agree that it is not okay in the United States of America that children go hungry.
That is a horse shit line that people like to say. Hold on, let me mark that. Yeah, it's a big Bernie Sanders line as well.
Right.
We don't have a problem with people going hungry in the United States who are able of sound mind enough to feed themselves generally.
Right. It's not, Yemen where they're
No, it's
kids
not a
in
food
hospitals.
shortage.
Yeah.
Yes, we're going hungry while getting diabetes. It's a different kind of going hungry. Where is she? Kamala.
Well, that's why they
This is the-
rebranded it as food instability.
Yes.
Because it's
I like
not knowing where your next meal is
I
coming
like food
from.
apartheid.
Opportunity before us right now. The opportunity to address longstanding racial disparities in every one of these systems, be it healthcare, education, the economy. Deal with the fact that over 2 million women left the workforce in
Hold on. Longstanding racial disparities, which disparities were impacted and made more despair through our actions over the last year.
Right.
You have made it. If you want more whites to get shot to even it out with the number of blacks who get shot, you screwed that over this past year because you have unleashed violent crime into the black community.
Absolutely.
And patted yourself in the back doing it.
And, I mean, not to mention, obviously, the health effects of COVID have been felt more by marginalized communities.
Yes.
And, I think about, too, when I hear people go on and on about vaccine passports this and vaccine passports that, why doesn't anybody bring up the fact that Black people are much more vaccine hesitant than white people in the United States? And if you're into social justice, you might not actually like the results if you make it so that people who haven't been vaccinated and can't show you their smartphone with their vaccine passport can't get into anywhere. That seems like maybe not the result that you're going to want once it turns out that all your venues are full only of white people and black people can't get into them because they didn't get the vaccine because of, systemic racism in medicine over the past whatever decades, right?
It is fascinating how this party, whose largest voting bloc and most powerful voting bloc, they're always trying to service that voting bloc by scaring them into believing that the right is going to reinstate Jim Crow, is that they are literally reconstructing elements of Jim Crow. Like you were saying, you're pushing a segregation.
Absolutely.
Based on class and race with these passports.
Right.
Some people will be able to go, some people will be more equal than other people. Some people can go to the movie theater. You, sorry about that, you can't. You have to go somewhere else. Even though we keep telling you you're as American as everybody else. Sorry, marginalized communities. You don't get to have the passport.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, I don't think the vaccine passport thing is going to catch on here. Just like all the states spent millions of dollars on contact tracing, and that was like a total wash. Like, people just ignored it, basically. We were at a restaurant last weekend, and did they collect our contact information to let us know if somebody at the restaurant has COVID? Everybody's supposed to collect information for contact tracing so that they can, so that if somebody tests positive this week and they call and the contact tracers let the restaurant know, the restaurant can notify everybody who was there in that time frame. Remember, in New Hampshire, they asked us, but now, the restaurants we've been going to haven't even asked us. Just nobody cares because everyone was lying to the contact tracers anyway. So everybody was giving them fake phone numbers and stuff. What? And Americans just, don't do this stuff. I don't see the vaccine passport thing catching on in a serious way. I also think if you look at the results of the vaccine that are happening right now in Israel and the UK, where the deaths the cases and deaths have continued to remain low in spite of the fact that you have, spikes in Europe and in surrounding communities, in surrounding countries. I just think that once we get enough of the population vaccinated, it's not going to be a thing anymore. 75% of the over 75 population is vaccinated already, pretty much consistently across the whole country, regardless. And I think that the more people get vaccinated and the more people see that, nothing bad has really happened to the people who've gotten vaccinated, more people are going to feel confident enough to get the vaccine, and the disease is going to be down enough that this isn't going to be a big deal anymore, a big enough deal that people are going to be willing to do it. think about how reluctant grocery stores already are to like confront people about masks, which it's like obvious if you're wearing a mask or not. Do you think the grocery stores are going to want to ask every person who walks in there to see their phone or scan their phone on a device and try and force compliance on that? It seems like not a confrontation they're going to want to mess with. It's just too much of a pain.
Well, yes, and you are asking for community leader trouble.
Right.
When you start to do that, you can't.
So
do
it's
that.
just, I don't think that's going to end up taking off here. I think it'll be like the contact tracing. Like they'll try and make it a thing and it'll just end up ignored and spat upon until people let it go.
Well, I think that matters. I mean, what is the political utility for Joe Biden of doing it? Because he scores high on vaccine. I mean, on COVID.
Right.
So if he does it, does that allow him to claim another victory in the larger battle against the coronavirus?
Well, I think that they're already trying to frame it as like more of a private sector thing. Like they're saying like the businesses want this. It's not us, because they can already see that people like don't like the idea of the government tracking them. So they're trying to make it
they're
like
incentivizing. You get
sector.
free fries, when
Right.
you go to the place. If you have got your
Krispy
got your
Kreme
thing.
is giving a free donut. Right?
At the same time, that could also have its own backlash, because there are Trump voters who want nothing to do with the vaccine because they don't want anything to do with Fauci and all those people. And,
Right.
They could actually boycott establishments that are giving out rewards. Then you'd have Trump voters alongside marginalized people and actually be a nice coalition.
Yeah, so I mean, we'll have to see what happens, I guess, how things shake out, but I just I don't see Americans necessarily going along with it the way that people in China do with like the social credit system and health passports that they have there and stuff. I don't see it taking off here. The one place maybe might be like airplanes potentially. I could see doing it because they already run you through a ringer to get on an airplane. People put up with that somehow, but I can't see people going through that just to get into a grocery store.
America's best politician at the moment, Ron DeSantis, is, of course, predictably, gotten in front of it to kind of show off his wares again.
We are not supporting doing any vaccine passports in the state of Florida. No one was more aggressive about getting this out. If you look at all the different points throughout Florida, whether it's a hospital, county health department, a retail pharmacy, a drive-through sites, church sites, all this stuff, it's important. But we always said we want to provide it for all, but mandate it for none. And that was something that, while it was advised to take, particularly if you're vulnerable, we were not going to force you to do it. So there was never under discussion any mandates to take vaccines. We will not have COVID vaccines mandated in Florida. The flip side of that, though, with these vaccine passports is it's completely unacceptable for either the government or the private sector to impose upon you the requirement that you show proof of vaccine to just simply be able to participate in normal society. You want to go to a movie theater? Should you have to show that? No. You want to go to a game? No. You want to go to a theme park? No. So we're not supportive of that. I think it's something that people have certain freedoms and individual liberties to make decisions for themselves. I also wonder, it's like, okay, you're going to do this, and then what, give all this information to some big corporation? You want the fox to guard the hen house? I mean, give me a break. I think this is something that has huge privacy implications. It is not necessary to do. We're going to have hit 3.5 million seniors that have gotten shots sometime this week, likely 75% of seniors. It's important to be able to do it.
We get it. You got it. He's right on. The guy's been on point.
He agrees with me. He must listen to the Burn Barrel.
Maybe he listens to the Barrel Kid. Let me see. Biden did not take...
Oh, speaking of the Burn Barrel, which we're on, do you have any news about any happenings on Twitter about the Burn Barrel podcast?
Oh, yes. Tell the people. I don't know enough about it, but I know that our listeners are fantastic, and thank you very much. We move on. Somehow we're like Oral Roberts University, Alice.
Globe's Podcast Madness bracket continues pace. We have defeated, I don't even know what it is, Radio Gunk, which I guess takes clips of like Howard Stern and stuff.
How can this be happening? How are we beating anybody?
So we have advanced to round 3.
Is it possible the competition is
in
unaware of the...
I believe it might be possible. No, this is a completely fair and accurate assessment of podcast listenership enthusiasm levels. And we are one of the Elite 8 of... Are we on to the Elite 8 yet? I don't even know.
I don't know. I'm not a March Madness fan, except for Kim Mulkey of Baylor, who's the coach of or manager of Baylor, which is a college, I'm told, which is playing basketball. And she's got a bold idea for the Final Four.
I don't think my words will matter, but after the games today and tomorrow, there's 4 teams left, I think, on the men's side and the women's side. They need to dump the COVID testing. Wouldn't it be a shame to keep COVID testing and then you got kids that end up having test positive or something and they don't get to play in the Final Four? So you need to just forget the COVID test and let the 4 teams that are playing in each Final Four go battle it out.
Here.
Almost had to bleep her there.
I know.
I love that. You need to just forget this
I was on
test.
I was on with Jerry Callahan today. You should follow Jerry and sign up for his podcast. And he actually was a little bit like, whoa, that's a little too far. That's great.
Well, it's just, it's very like, saying the quiet part out loud kind of deal where she's like, well, we need to stop testing because what if they test positive and then they can't play? It's like, yeah, that's the idea of the testing. So, but, she didn't even like try and cover it up with like, they've only been around the same people now for the last 2 days and they should just isolate and then there's no risk. She didn't try and give some like deeper rationale. She was just like, no, it would really suck to test positive.
Well, let's check in with you, actually. It's the James Brady White House briefing room. Today, it was 40 years since James Brady and Ronald Reagan were shot. And their shooter, who's John
Jodie
Hinckley?
Foster fanboy.
John Hinckley is a free man right now. So good for you, John. Classic jerk. James Brady was a really cool guy.
Most people who shoot people are jerks, I would say.
Yeah. Yes. Certainly a lot of them. So let's check in with the White House briefing room.
Put 'em in their place with a smiling face and with style and grace. That's how Jen Psaki circles back. You're a bright, refreshing sight to see.
All right, Jen. Why exactly does all the letterhead now say Biden-Harris administration?
I would take from it that Vice President Harris is an important partner. She's the first in the room, the last in the room on most occasions if she's in town and not traveling around the country. It's a reflection of the important role that she will play moving forward.
A role regarding this stuff.
So you say, Kamala, okay, talk about the opportunity now, right? The opportunity is more people are seeing that, yeah, affordable childcare is a big deal. More parents are seeing the value of educators when they had to bring their kids and said, we're not paying them nearly enough.
Yeah, okay. Drink. Jen Psaki, how is it possible that you have teachers in San Diego teaching migrant children in the various civic centers and convention centers that we're now using as detention centers? How is it that they're getting actual in-person teaching from real teachers?
I'd like to find out what the White House thinks about what's happening in San Diego, where some public school teachers are providing in-person instruction at the San Diego Convention Center to migrant children before their own public school students. And these kids, of course, about 130,000 of them have been at home doing online learning for about a year now. So what does the White House think about that?
Well, I know you guys have done a fair amount of reporting on this, so maybe you'll have more details. As I understand it, San Diego public schools are opening in early April.
April 12th to hybrid learning.
Okay. And students will be back in the classroom. And as I understand it, this is related part-time. And certainly, our objective from the White House, opening up 5 days a week. Majority of schools across.
Psaki is answering this totally matter-of-factly. Meanwhile, she's got the huge binder out reading exactly what this. She knows that this is an explosive question.
Uh-huh.
across the country, and they're on spring break right now, and this is related to volunteering or being paid. I'm not even sure. You'd have to ask the local school district.
We don't even know. We're just it's such a non-thing here that we don't even know. I'm just, as I carefully read these bullet points of how we don't know, and it's I'm not even sure. You might want to ask them.
During spring break for these migrant kids?
Yes, so the San Diego County Supervisor, Jim Desmond, he says, I think it's great that there's in-person learning for unaccompanied minors from Central America, but I wish every child in San Diego County was allowed the same opportunity for in-person teaching. So I guess the question is, does the White House think that this sends the right message to these 130,000 kids in San Diego and their parents who've been stuck at home for the last year?
Well, I'm just saying that context is important, and these kids are going back to school for hybrid learning. We, of course, want that to be 5 days a week, and we're confident we'll get there early next month. And I believe they're also on spring break right now. So these teachers are...
Spring break, there's going to be hybrid learning, it's a couple days a week, this, that, so don't worry about it. Just don't focus too much on it. It's not like there's an egregious injustice happening, and somehow you can get teachers to do this for kids who aren't little American kids. Mm-hmm. But you can't.
By the way, a bunch of whom are testing COVID positive too. By the way.
Well, how? Yeah, and how?
So the safety issue remains.
Did these buildings have to get a new ventilation system too?
Would be. I'm not sure if it's volunteer or paid. You'd have to ask the local school district while the kids are on spring break, which I think the context is pretty important.
Okay. Next.
I'd like to find out what
it's so funny. It's so inconsequential that we're not even sure. We didn't even bother to take.
April 12th, March 29th. What's the difference, really? It's just a 2-week difference after your kids haven't been in school for a year. It's fine. No big deal. Speaking of the migrant centers, they finally let the press in to the one in Donna, Texas today, and the pictures are outrageous. They're not. It does not look good.
Guys, the entire Shattuck family is now in the room. For those of you watching video, that one camera should be going out soon.
There are thousands of kids packed in there. They're at 1,700% of their COVID capacity. There are kids testing positive for COVID. They're packed into this place. That there was one where it's all these little kids, toddlers, in a room with a little baby gate all around them, and they're all sitting in the baby gate, 25 of them in there. It's really, it's unbelievable. And
hold on, guys. Can you do whatever it takes so he doesn't have a violent fit and destroy every camera in part of the studio?
Yeah, if he just wants to sit here, why don't you guys give him a phone or something so that...
and put the volume down?
And put the volume down on a phone so that he can watch it. That would be great, just for another little while, okay? So, and what they're saying, what the reporters are saying who are taking these pictures in the border facilities is that now, because the Biden administration has been sending back adults... or families, if they can, is that the families are now practicing what the journalists are calling self-separation, which is that they're going back over the border. A sun butter sandwich as soon as we're done. Definitely.
You want Sally to make you one? Do you want Sally to make you one?
Sally can make you a sun butter sandwich. Ask Sally.
Okay. Okay, we'll do it in a bit. Just need you to be quiet for a bit.
But yeah, so that's what we're calling it now, when Biden separates families by incentivizing them to send their kids back across the border alone after they get sent home. So it's really just separation with an extra step. The Biden administration says, no, you can't come here. We're only taking children who are alone. And the parents say, great, and head back across the border and then send back their kid alone who ends up in the detention center. So really a great situation all around. It is not going away, no matter how much Rochelle, I always call her Rachel.
All right, before we hear a person that I love now as of today, we're going to hear from a person who I think is a horrifically terrible person. This is Bill Maher and Heidi Heitkamp, who was the former senator from one of the Dakotas, is on the show with her, and they're talking about Gina Carano from The Mandalorian.
I like this picture. Who was the woman in The Mandalorian? What did she do? She liked something?
She was a Nazi.
Oh, that's different, right?
A Nazi, she calls her. Just throwaway line. She was a Nazi.
Thinking of somebody else. Well, she's not a Nazi.
She's a white. She's involved in white supremacy.
You're calling her
She's called other people Nazis.
Right.
So she's the Nazi.
Okay, everyone's a Nazi now.
Yeah.
She does hang with white supremacists.
It's like a Mel Brooks.
She does?
Movie.
Yeah.
hangs with white
I suppose I'm now subject to defamation.
Yeah, she should be. I would sue the hell out of her.
I don't know. I mean, it depends on what your definition of white supremacist is. That also, the goalpost there changed a lot. Used to be a guy in a Klan hood who...
But I think we have to be really careful. There's two things.
Wait, we have to be careful. Not Heidi Heitkamp. She doesn't have to be careful. She can call people Nazis and hang out with white supremacists. When she's saying Nazis and white supremacists, by the way, that's Ben Shapiro. That's who the Nazi is. I think that assessment is problematic.
Things the Republicans think they're going to get Biden on. Cancel culture and this whole Dr. Seuss stuff that's going on.
Heidi Heitkamp has wrapped herself up in knots here and screwed herself in this little segment.
Where they're reading Green Eggs and Ham, proving that some of these senators can actually...
They're suggesting where they're trying to go out and say that people are calling them Nazis and launching these attacks at them and saying that they're white supremacists. Yeah, Heidi, you are living proof that this is happening.
And immigration. And so we can't ignore the fact that we got Donald Trump was in part because of political correctness. I mean, you did a whole show called
You had a moron. But that's fine. I'm not going to sweat that. I'm going to get over that. That's not what bothers me. Oh, you know what? While we're doing that, I might as well just run through the Juan Williams screwed up his answer as well. What was the name? Ahmed, the guy who was killed. Carjack. What was his Ahmed? The food deliverer was named what was his name? Muhammad Anwar. Okay, was killed when we played the audio. I don't want to get into it; it's depressing. But the take from Juan Williams was not a great one.
It's tragic. I mean, you got these teenage girls. I mean, they're little kids. They're not gangsters. They're not hardened criminals. I don't think they intended to kill anybody. They were looking to have a joyride, and it just went way wrong, way out of control, and ended up in a gross tragedy. I mean, this is unbelievable. Their lives are ruined.
Well, they brought a stun gun,
dead.
so usually you don't bring a stun gun to a joyride. But go ahead.
I just think. Correct. I mean, it's like, kids finding guns in their parents' house. I don't know what to say, Jesse. It's awful. It's a terrible situation.
Okay, and it is a terrible situation, and that was terrible. Now, there aren't too many members of the Biden inner circle and administration that I'm a huge fan of. But there are two, Alice, who I am fond of. Both men. One is called Champ, and one is called Major. And my buddy, Major, is in trouble. He's not his first scrape with the law either.
Can you clarify for us what happened with the president's dogs? There's some reports that one of them was involved in a biting incident. Can you clarify exactly what happened?
Sure. Champ and Major, the president and first lady's dogs, members of the family, are still getting acclimated and accustomed to their new surroundings and new people. And on Monday, the first family's younger dog, Major, was surprised by an unfamiliar person and reacted in a way that resulted in a minor injury to the individual, which was handled by the White House Medical Unit with no further treatment needed. It had been previously planned already for the dogs to be cared for by family friends in Delaware during Dr. Biden's travels to military bases this week. She has a 3-day trip this week, and the dogs will return to the White House soon.
Well, there you go. Bad news. Major, President Joe Biden's younger dog, bit someone while out on a walk Monday afternoon, CNN reported. The first dog went after a National Park Service employee, according to CNN. So is this back in Washington or Delaware? I assume in Washington.
Washington, yep, they're back.
First Lady Jill Biden's press secretary confirmed the incident to CNN. Yes, Major nipped someone on a walk. I'd like to get the Park Service employees' take on what was a nip and what was a bite. But yes, Major nipped someone on a walk, Michael LaRosa, the First Lady spokesman, told CNN. Out of an abundance of caution, the individual was seen by the White House dock and returned to work. The canine was spotted by a White House reporter about the time the bite took place. Two sources with knowledge of the incident told CNN the bite victim was working at the time and had to stop to get attention from the White House Medical Unit. Working, and I wonder what he was doing. Major was taken from the White House to Delaware for special training after a similar incident that rehab did not take. The Bidens adopted Major.
Some people and dogs need a few rounds.
Yep. Champ, the older of the Biden dogs, was also taken to Delaware after the first biting issue. Ruining it for Champ, Major. Not good. The previous bite happened in March. It also required medical attention.
But only from the White House medical unit. No big deal. No further medical care was needed.
The last time Biden said, you turn a corner and then there's two people you don't know at all, and he moves to protect. Biden said, well, he moved to protect against the National Park Service person, with Biden not even in the area this time. So I don't know. He is taking protecting to a new level. But
I mean, I think that now I'm making excuses for Major here, but I think that being the dog at the White House is kind of a tough job for some dogs, personality-wise. You know, if you're not a dog who does well with new people, and some dogs just never really learn how to do well with new people, you know, I don't know that being at the White House is the spot for you. Because there's a lot of people coming in and out.
These dogs have been trained. Remember they got their little dog diplomas before they went to the White House?
Yeah, and obviously Major needs some remedial training.
Let me tell you one thing. Our dogs would be in the news constantly.
I'm not denying
constantly.
That. Our dogs.
But I like those dogs, Champ and Major.
I like them too. I'm not sure they're really well suited to the White House environment.
Well, you know what? I'm not sure a lot of people who reside in the White House are well suited to the White House environment. So that is happening. Also happening, and I'm sorry, Alice, once again, I hate to tell you, because I've tweeted out a really absolutely, some people, not me, would call it an almost sexy picture of you from a few years back. And why don't you always wear a black miniskirt and pink cowboy hat? That's something that needs to happen. I tweeted. Check out my Twitter.
We were in a photo booth at a wedding.
Alice, give me this.
Okay.
But I'm sorry. I am now dating somebody else, Alice, and I hate to say this on the podcast, but I feel like I owe it to you to be honest.
Okay.
I am now dating Marianne Williamson, who I don't care, and actually I'm intrigued that she's insane. Because I like her voice. It's rich and
she does
robust,
have a cool voice. She's like in a
speaks.
40s movie.
Yes, it makes me. She would if she like asked me to get the mail, I'd feel important. So she sat down with James Cameron to absolutely wow him with stupidity and insanity, and this is what this cut. We'll just listen to it.
I want to tell you this. I was in Israel.
James Cameron always reports from his like mini sub. Everything I see him in, he's in the mini sub. But Marianne Williamson's in Israel.
Mm-hmm. And I was talking to some Israeli and Palestinian peacemakers.
I don't know how that happened. I don't know. I'm not sure. Did she? Mostly they were hot dog vendors, but fine.
And I said, I'm telling you the truth. I said, well, you know, the Great Mother doesn't choose sides. According to Avatar, the Great Mother doesn't choose sides. She's there to protect balance.
Yes.
She doesn't pick a winner. She protects balance. And
yes.
Do you know what the Palestinian and the Israelis in the room, do you know their reaction?
She's nodding her head.
They thought about it.
They nodded. Good. And I think it was because some of them had seen Avatar.
Yeah.
James Cameron was in an Uber 11 seconds later. So, there you go. I love her. I don't care. She could make anything interesting. Like, she could read the ingredients of a pot roast and it would sound interesting and fabulous. Speaking of Avatar, one of the classic Joe and Jill Biden cuts from, this is now, would be almost 13 years old.
You've been a very busy man. Do you and Mrs. Biden ever get to the movies? Academy Award picks? Any favorites among the Oscar nominees?
As a matter of fact, we do. I think one of the odds-on favorites, Jill didn't go with me, but is this new program that I looked at it and wished I was seeing it in 3D. And you sit there and you watch this science fiction thing unfold in front of you. I think
Avatar?
Avatar.
I knew he had the right stuff to be president. The way he answered that question, I thought, that's a guy with grasp.
It is funny, like, looking back at Avatar, because that movie was so huge. And it's weird how it was so huge and then just, like, totally vanished. Like, its cultural influence, like, disappeared right away.
Well, I think a lot of that was... Whoa.
What are we hearing?
1,000 things are happening.
Is that your phone?
Okay, Anson is sending us pictures by the
okay.
tens of millions.
Okay.
So I think there's a couple of reasons why.
But do you remember when people like had groups that would get together and like mourn because
those weren't my kind of groups.
Pandora wasn't real or whatever the planet was?
Okay, so this is why I think that is.
Uh-huh.
Because Avatar was Iraq. And it was also Vietnam. It was Blue Vietnam, as I used to call it. That's what it was. Okay. Stupid, boorish American Marines going in and destroying something fragile and precious. And Bush was out right around that time. Obama came in, and there was no reason to. All of the death counts of soldiers in Iraq went away, and Cindy Sheehan went home, and Code Pink shut up for the most part, and all this stuff changed. And so that battle, culturally, we had moved on from that battle. And remember, then it was time to go after the teabaggers, as the President Obama, or no, Obama didn't call them that, but Anderson Cooper did, and NPR. And then it was Occupy Wall Street, and you had other little mini revolutions there. So
I mean, I think also it was just that the movie was kind of technologically interesting. Like, you can go and watch it in 3D, and it, like, wows you with how 3D it looks and stuff.
Doesn't wow me, Alice.
I know that you don't
Wows
get wowed.
you.
I know that you don't get wowed, but although you did tell me when I made you see How to Train Your Dragon in 3D that it was the most 3D thing you'd ever seen, and the 3D technology had come a long way since the last time you saw 3D movie, which was probably in the
fairly
80s.
new, and I was trying to impress you.
Okay.
There were a lot of untruths heading your way at that time, Alice. You've more seen the more disappointing me now for years, and you realize now.
Well, I prefer to believe that you were impressed with How to Train Your Dragon, and I really enjoyed it. I like seeing movies. It's one of my things. So Avatar was like very impressive to watch, you know, just visually stunning, but you know, at the bottom of it, it was kind of a dumb movie. Like, you call it the Iraq War, but it was really like, we always called it Pocahontas, Space Pocahontas, because it's like they come to the planet and the indigenous people are all like peaceful and loving and stuff. But yeah, it's just funny because I don't know. I witnessed this argument on Twitter like maybe a year ago or something where somebody was saying that like people just think Avatar is dumb because we don't understand like the subtle point it's making about imperialism. And everyone was like, imagine thinking that the problem with Avatar was that its point was like too subtle and people didn't get it. Like, no, the point is that the point was completely over the top, in your face, moralizing, which like, it's fine. It is what it is, but it's not that smart a movie. So it's funny to me that Marianne Williamson has, like, latched onto it as, like, this genius work of art that is the source of wisdom and can solve the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. I really enjoy the idea. And I'm sure that was their reaction, that they just sat in silence and, like, nodded blankly at her. If she even spoke to any peacemakers, which I doubt.
No, she didn't. She may have thought she was, but they weren't at all. Okay, Alice, I am done presenting this show, I feel. Now, I see you've got other stuff on your dossier. Is there something else you'd like to talk about?
I think we covered most of my points, honey. I'm sorry.
Okay, maybe we'll have some Amazon stuff tomorrow. We'll have more. Chauvin trial tomorrow.
And possibly some Cuomo.
Did I not clear the Chauvin trial stuff? Or maybe I didn't. No, I didn't. Okay, Chauvin trial stuff. Yes, and Cuomo stuff. Maybe we'll talk to VB again. Please do sign up for the my Substack if you can. You don't have to pay for it. There's a free option. And please do leave a review if you can on iTunes. I'm told it matters, and ideally a good review. The bad review also matters. So we don't like those, if possible. But thanks everybody for listening. Once again, we are. It feels good to have you guys interacting. I love it. I love you on Twitter. I'll try to get better at responding to Facebook, although most of the people I talk to are on Twitter. Although Alice, we'll get better at all that stuff.
At all the things.
But we laugh all through the day reading DMs and tweets, etc., that involve us, and I'll take even the mean ones about me. I just want the attention. It's something my psychiatrist has been working with me. So I thank you very much. I really appreciate it, everybody.
Thanks so much. Tom mentioned our Twitter. That is @BurnBarrelPod. You can also find us on Facebook, facebook.com/BurnBarrelPod, and on YouTube, where we're Tom Shattuck's Burn Barrel is the name of the channel there. There's video versions of all the podcasts. You can comment. You can like videos. You can subscribe either there or wherever you like to listen. We're on all the podcast platforms, and you can send us an email. That's burnbarrelpodcast@gmail.com.
C'est la vie.